So, unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances like the Earth being destroyed by solar flares, we are not able to do the tech today.
To be honest with you, I really thought that the power was going to be off, so I didn't prepare for this one. So just go ahead and set your expectation down a little bit.
Well, speaking of setting your expectations down, the first thing I'm going to talk about here is tech poop. Right to start the episode. So some of the guys who were helping create the original Raise the World way back when, they've all gone off and done other things and who knows what, but they just called me up and said, hey, we've got a t-shirt. Could you mention it on the show? So I was like, yeah, I'll mention your awful t-shirt on our show. Here it is. Because I guess they sat down and they were like, everyone does this, right? Are we right? And I was like, yeah, but we don't want to talk about it. And we don't want to talk about your lousy t-shirt with terrible artwork on our show. Look at this terrible artwork. Anyway, if you guys are curious, go to teespring.com/techpoop and get one of these to annoy all your friends. These shirts are just completely poop. This is the last time I'm ever saying that word. Also in merch news, snifters. There we go. We've got those in the store. Our mugs are back in stock now, everybody. So where's the mugs? Scroll down. There you go.
I got 135 emails asking when are we going to have mugs. The answer for you guys is now. We have mugs now. Go buy the mugs.
Buy 20. Mug your whole office. All right. And also, everyone keeps asking for it. We're finally going to get a damn shirt with my face on it. No, we're not. It's a shirt of me face palming. So that'll be coming soon as well. You guys are never getting a shirt with my face on it. It'll either be me face palming or not me. And I'm never going to wear that shirt. I was really sad about it because I like wearing the shirts, but I'm never going to wear that one. I just will not wear a shirt with me on it. That just creeps me out. But, oh no, I've got you on the screen. So anyway, let's get on and talk about what's going on. So what about this solar flare window? What's up with this?
Yeah, so there was okay. Long story short, there was a coronal mass ejection, 2 in a row, and one hit the Earth yesterday, and there was some minor communications disruption. The other one was due to hit the Earth on Friday, basically during the day, so it would have been exposure in the United States. It hasn't, it's later now in the day, and that hasn't really happened, so knock on wood, we may have, dodged the bullet on this. And the reason it's really terrifying is because there was a solar flare event around 1850, and we had, telegraphs, but not so much in the way of the electric light bulb. And when this happened in 1850, the telegraph wires, like you could unplug the telegraphs, and like from a power source, and they would spark, and the telegraphs kept working when they were unplugged because the electromagnetic radiation was so crazy. And so today, with the modern world, that would utterly destroy our power grid. Lloyd's of London did a study on it, and they said, it's probably going to cost about $2 trillion if something like the 1850 event happens today. So, there's that. Well, we're still here. You can still watch YouTube, so yay.
Yeah, and after this, you guys can run right outside. In fact, you should probably pause this right now if you live anywhere, I don't know, north of, let's say, Connecticut, or even New York. That's how far south the Aurora Borealis is going to be. So go outside and just stare up at the sky. Everybody in Minnesota should be doing this, out in Washington State, Montana. Everyone go outside. Canada, you're already out there, right? Finland, Norway, you guys get this stuff all the time, so it's no new thing to you, but it should be really crazy and strong. So go out there and look for that. That's a side effect that is kind of fun and cool. Kind of wish I could go outside right now and check it out, but we got to do this.
Just a friendly reminder to everyone, be sure you've got your downloaded local copy of Wikipedia, because if the internet wasn't there tomorrow, that would be really handy.
All right, let's have a little bit of fun with Microsoft here. So Microsoft paid $400 million to sponsor the NFL with their Surface. And they've got their Surfaces everywhere. There's product placement here. You see people on the sideline using Surface there to, Microsoft Chat or whatever you do on a Surface with your friends. They've got Surface on the sides of just everything. The monitors, cameras, all kinds of things, just Surface branding. But the announcers, let's just listen to them ruining things.
Going through the iPad. I wonder how long it took him to learn how to use the iPad to scroll through the pictures. But in all seriousness, one of the great
going through the iPad. I wonder how long it took him to learn how to scroll through pictures on the iPad or whatever he says. So yeah, they are Microsoft spends $400 million. NFL announcers call it an iPad. How much fun is that? Yeah, I'd say that's money well spent. I don't know. I think that's funny.
The cult of Apple has brainwashed yet again. No, I don't know.
Yeah, we should probably talk about Apple. Let's talk about Windows 9 before we talk about Apple. Windows 9. Let me just close that up to make sure there's no background noise. So Windows 9, some screenshots have surfaced, and there's even actually a video somewhere of someone showing off the start menu. Now, one thing that's interesting about the start menu here is you can expand this area here. Let's go ahead and bring this image up. So you've got the start menu on the left. You can install programs straight from the start menu. It integrates with the live tiles just like in Windows 8. Now you can just continue to add new live tiles to this, or add different, buttons over here on the right, and you can expand it as far out as you like. If you still like the Windows 8 bubbly nonsense that's made for tablets and you want that on your desktop, they're not going to stop you. I still do not think that this is going to be a better solution for power users than, say, using Start as Back. So I don't see. I mean, it might be kind of cool to have a start menu that actually pops up in the corner where it belongs on the desktop, and have it, have a few live features and some modern things like your Twitter feed or whatever you want on there. Yeah, I just hope that, what the main thing I hope that they don't take away the old-fashioned control panel and all that. I really, really, really hated, all the settings that you had to go through in the Metro interface, the interface formerly known as Metro. I really, really, really hated having to deal with settings and changing user accounts and that sort of thing. I was like, get all this junk away from me, like the mouse settings. No, get all that away from me. I want the old school control panel. So I hope they do not replace the old school control panel with this new bubbly nonsense that doesn't do anything, because that's not what we want on a desktop. We don't want bubbly nonsense that doesn't do anything. We want very sleek, professional stuff that does things. Yes, that's my 2 cents. All right.
The deeper issue is Microsoft. So there's also PowerShell. We never talk about PowerShell, but PowerShell is this command line thing, and because Linux has absolutely taken over the server market in pretty much every way imaginable for just about everything in large enterprise organizations. Windows Server, it's not terrible, but for command line management, there's a lot of this stuff on the command line, and I have a feeling that the proper UIs are going to suffer. It's going to be nothing but the bubbly nonsense on one side and the command line interface on the other. They've already done it with Exchange. Everything with Exchange is through this web-based portal, but to really get at everything you need to get at in Exchange, you've got to use PowerShell. They've done away with the GUI inside of Windows. And granted, what they've done with Exchange is probably not what they're going to do with a consumer computer, but I think that they are going to trend toward the more bubbly interface for everyday people, and for people like us that want to customize every little thing. I think they're just going to leave us with the registry editor and the command line, and that's all we get.
I wonder if they're going to put any functionality back in there, like shadow copy. I don't think they're going to put it back in there, but it would be amazing if they actually added some of that back in.
It was completely...
I don't know why it was gone.
It was completely dumb that they got rid of shadow copy. That is the dumbest thing. That was the single most useful feature on a workstation. I can understand maybe leaving it out of the home version, because it was technically left out of the home version, even though it was still there and running in the background. You could do the Windows Anytime upgrade and then have shadow copy of stuff from the past to grab things. I used that trick to save a few things off of friends' home computers, but after bad things happen, it was like, oh, it's gone forever. It's like, no, you've got shadow copy, but let me just make you buy the new version of Windows, even though I could have used the command line. I felt like they needed to be on Windows Pro anyway, so they could cough up. It's fine. But the other thing in these screenshots from Windows 9, Microsoft's gotten really nasty. The background there is like, Microsoft Confidential. We're going to sue your ass off if this makes it on the internet. It's like, what? Oops.
Well, it's on the internet. And there's already
that
a video
warning is new.
Oh, is it?
It was not there,
Yeah, but before, just like a little thing in the bottom corner, like here, that just said technical preview or build number, and then the build number beside it. But now they've got this huge thing that just takes over the entire corner.
And that's why we should all move to Linux. If we were all running Linux, we could all get together and we could all improve it. Everyone should be a software developer. ...
Adobe needs to make their stuff for Linux, for the love of God. That's really all we need is Adobe. I mean, now that we've got
you were
Mantle,
channeling Shatner for a second there. All we need is the Adobe Creative Suite.
I'm talking to you out there, Bob Adobe. Please, Mr. Adobe, make this stuff, your programs, available on the Linux. Okay. Yeah, that's all we need. Adobe, and I would prefer a few other programs like a lot of the games, you know? I mean, but that's all I really need my Windows machine for is the Adobe Creative Suite. That's it. And there's not, I mean, there's a lot of other programs that are alternatives on Linux, but I've got to get stuff done. I don't have time to learn a lot of the alternatives, and just, let's face it, they're not as cohesive and powerful. Because you've got all these different, you know, you've got a full suite here that all plays together. Everything from After Effects to SpeedGrade to Premiere to, you know, just Photoshop. It all works together. So Adobe, just throw it on Linux. Do it. Or else, you know. All right. Let's talk about Yelp. So this is actually kind of a very strange ruling by a court. So Yelp was sued out in California by, I believe it's an animal hospital, because Yelp, you know, they have advertisements, and they contacted them like, hey, you want to put an advertisement on Yelp? And the company was like, no, we don't want to do that. And then Yelp was like, well, we'll make all the negative ads like disappear. And they're like, and then they showed them like, ooh, look, all these ads are, you know, all these negative reviews from people are going away, or they're going to the bottom of the list where no one's going to find them. And then the company's like, no, we don't want to buy any ad space. And so Yelp was like, okay. And they put the negative reviews back, and they allowed them to be, you know, toward the top of the list. And then they went to court because, you know, of course, the company sued Yelp for doing this. They're like, this is really damaging our business. And in court, you know, the court basically ruled, and I'm kind of very much paraphrasing this. You may be able to correct me on some of the finer points here, but it looks like, you know, Yelp is pretty much allowed to do whatever they want with the data. If they want the negative reviews to go to the top, they can do that. It's pretty much Yelp won this case. So the implications for further, I guess, other websites to be doing the same type of thing, that's what kind of scares me, because when you're dealing with this, I mean, Yelp is a business, and they've got their own business practices, and their business practices may damage other businesses. And right here we can clearly see that it can be very bad for, you know, an animal hospital to have tons of negative reviews all the way at the top. But it looks like they're using those techniques as a, you know, sort of a heavy-handed, like strong arm type thing. You will buy our ads, or you will get negative reviews on top. And there's a lot of other weird things that Yelp does, but I'm worried about other websites being able to manipulate the user data that they get, and manipulate the user reviews that they get, and make certain things highlight to basically, I don't know, screw over a business that they want to do poorly, or make a business that their uncle owns do really well. I don't know. It seems like, I don't know, seems like this would go against the Communications Decency Act, but I guess the judge didn't think it did. I don't know, did I paraphrase that well enough, you think?
Yeah, the specifics of the case is that this is really about extortion, and it's like, was Yelp extorting this business to pay them, you know, pay us or suffer the consequences? And the other thing with Yelp is that I'm not sure that they were really removing anything. It does say remove at one point, but everything else in the article and the research that I could do says that they're really just manipulating the order of the reviews. And so I think it's mostly about the order of the reviews. And so the judge said, you know, that is a monetizable thing, which is, you know, very capitalistic of the judge. So it's a bad result, I think, for small business, and certainly nothing like this would fly in the EU, I would think. But here in America, this is apparently okay.
Well, I mean, let's say that you're a business, and when you first got started, like, you know, everything was going wrong. Maybe you have a bagel shop, and your toaster caught on fire, and you had to serve bagels not toasted, which is the original way, by the way, non-toasted bagels. But let's say that everyone wanted toasted bagels. Your toaster caught on fire and didn't work. Let's say your fridge stopped working. Well, that first week that you were in business, when everything was crazy, you're going to get a bunch of negative reviews. And then, like, maybe a year goes by, and all of a sudden you've got the best bagels in town. They're amazing, but Yelp puts all the negative reviews at the top, and they're allowed to do that. That could be really, really bad. And all those negative reviews were from like that first week. So, man, that's pretty damning for a small business. I would hope that judges would side, with the small businesses, because keeping small businesses around is good for the economy, right? Anyway. All right, let's move right along. Let's talk about Apple. And let's talk about Tim Cook. Tim Cook is so sure of the new iOS devices, like the watch thing. They invented the watch, by the way, this weekend. Until this weekend, there were no watches in the universe. Apple just invented the watch, and it's also a smartwatch. So not only is it the first watch, it is also the first smartwatch. And the smartwatch will allow you to do things like look at pictures on your wrist that could also be on your phone on a much bigger screen. But you can look at them on your wrist now. You can show people pictures of your dumbass kids on your wrist. You know.
Is it? Enjoyed the part of the thing where they said they invented the mouse, because I'm pretty sure that Douglas Engelbart, if he were still alive, would be very unhappy with that.
Yeah, they pretty much invented everything. I mean, if you look back in time, Apple pretty much invented everything. I mean, Apple is kind of God. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. So Tim Cook thinks that we're going to see a mass exodus from Android for people who just are dying to get over to, you know, the new iPhone 6 and the new iPhone 6 Plus and whatever all the other iterations are. So let's just have a little bit of fun here. Let's take a look at this graphic that's been circulating around the internet. I think this might have started on either 4chan or Reddit, but take a look at this. The iPhone 6, you know, it's a 4.7-inch screen. This is the Nexus 4 from 2012, 4.7-inch screen. 750p resolution, 760p. You guys can see back and forth here. Do you remember when NFC payments, right? People with Android have had that for several years, and if you go to Japan or somewhere in Asia, they've had that for years and years and years, and they're like, you guys still use that plastic stuff? Well, if I want a soda, I just slap my phone against the soda machine and I get a soda or whatever. But so yeah, all the Apple users were like, why do I want that on my phone? That's awful. Why, you would never want that on your phone. That's so. And then now that it's available on Apple devices, they're all like, oh, look what we have. It's like, what the hell, guys? Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop pretending that it sucks until it comes to your device, and then it's like, oh, look what we have. No.
Well,
it's cool in the first place. But anyway, go ahead.
I have to say that, so it's like the near field thing, at least in America, it's basically non-existent. And so now that it's in an iPhone, maybe retailers will finally adopt it and actually give me a way to pay with near field. I mean, it's in a few retailers, but it's few and far between. So now maybe that Apple has it, it'll happen. And I really have to wonder what Tim Cook's motivation was by saying about the Apple, or about the Android exodus. Is it that he thinks that many people were waiting on Apple to have the larger screen size? Because that's really the only difference.
All right, let's talk about the larger screen size, as a matter of fact. Okay, so the Apple iPhone 6 Plus is going to have a larger screen, so you can get the 4.7-inch version or the big guy. Now, this one, it's got pretty much the same size screen, and the specs are very similar to the OnePlus One, but let's go ahead and compare it, because the OnePlus One is going to be quite a bit cheaper. I mean, you can get the Apple for a lower initial cost, but you got to sign your life away for a couple of years, and you'll be working for Satan and all that kind of stuff. But let's just compare it to the OnePlus One here. The OnePlus One's been out for a while. It's much cheaper. You know, it's running CyanogenMod, which is in my opinion, a much better operating system. But it looks like the Apple is losing in most categories. The pixel density is the same. The bezel is larger on the Apple, so it's going to be a bigger phone. And the OnePlus One is already, in my opinion, quite massive. It's got the oleophobic coating on the Apple, so I guess if you drop some water on the screen or something, it's going to be kind of cool to watch it bubble and move away. That's pretty cool. The Apple has that.
The main reason for the oleophobic screen is to make it not pick up fingerprints. So like the Galaxy S3 had that, because I had a Galaxy S3. I had the unfortunate honor of having a Galaxy S3, the dubious honor. And yeah, it had the oleophobic coating. But I used a phone that didn't have an oleophobic coating, and I was like, that's actually kind of nice. I need that.
Yeah, it would be nice to have that on the OnePlus One. The camera on the OnePlus One completely blows the camera on the. I mean, they've got all the stuff listed here for all the different features, but the OnePlus One has most of those features. But it also shoots at 4K. They've only got the UHD listed, but it also shoots at 4K DCI, so you can get the true large 4K. The front-facing camera is 5 megapixels versus 1.2. So, I mean, until we actually see some benchmarks, the other thing here is the battery is slightly larger on the OnePlus One. They're very similar phones, and the Apple does have a few benefits over the OnePlus One in certain areas, but yeah, not much. I mean, you can get it in 128 gigabyte, but I mean, as a straight comparison, you get the fingerprint unlock feature on the Apple. But really, for the extra money, it's a bigger phone. I would have expected something to be better than the OnePlus One. I can't see anybody leaving, like, a Galaxy, one of the new Galaxy Note, what is it, the Samsung, whatever, the S6 or whatever, maybe even an HTC One. I can't see anybody dropping one of those devices to switch over to an iPhone. I cannot see that happening. If you're someone who's doing that, I want to know why you're doing it. I'm just curious, like, what is it about iOS and the iPhone 6 that you really want? So let me know in the comments. It'd be interesting. What were you going to say?
I don't know that I mean, this phone also has a gig of RAM. And it's like, that really is a 2012 feature. Why would this phone have a gig of RAM? That doesn't even make sense. Like, even if Apple has done the amazing thing and they've made, this, assembly optimized, the angels brought down the most optimal code possible, I can't imagine still having a phone that only has a gigabyte of RAM. And sure, you can make the argument, Android, the Moto X from 2012 has 2 gigs of RAM. A lot of phones from 2012, 2013 had 2 gigs of RAM on the Android side. You could make the argument that Android, with the Dalvik thing, just needs more RAM because Java and all these other reasons. They are switching away from Dalvik to the new opcode cacher, so that is maybe a validation of your point that Android uses more RAM than iOS, but still, the price difference between 1 and 2 gigabytes of RAM in this day and age is like $1, maybe not even $1. And down the road, when iOS 9 is out and iOS 10, having only a gig of RAM is really going to hurt your upgradability. It might not matter now because they've got the Angel Jesus code or whatever, but down the road, you're going to need the RAM.
It is a 64-bit processor, so that is something to mention as well. Maybe that'll help a bit. Yeah, who knows? I want to see some head-to-head benchmarks there. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Facebook Messenger app that we've talked about a few times in past episodes. So apparently, someone who works in security, Jonathan I can't even say Zdarsky. I don't know. Here's what he says. He says that Messenger appears to have more spyware-type code in it than I've seen in products intended specifically for enterprise surveillance. So Facebook's been firing back at this, but if you look at it, there's all kinds of just interesting things, and it's really just about them tracking you. They're tracking. If you install the Facebook Messenger app, they're tracking you pretty much everything you do. They're tracking it. They're tracking how often you swipe on certain things. They're tracking how many times you click on this. They're tracking what parts of the screen you tap on the most. All that kind of stuff, and that's kind of normal for web forensics and that sort of thing, or Android forensics. That's kind of a normal thing. But the thing that's interesting here, if you have like iOS, I'm not sure how this works on Android because I have not installed this on my phone, but it installs at a very low level, and it even shares your Facebook username with iOS. So I'm wondering if that's going to be tracking you all over the phone. I'm thinking it might be, but I'd have to see, maybe a statement from somebody, Apple or someone inside Apple saying like, oh yeah, it tracks. We let them track just about everything, and we share the marketing data. I don't know how that works. Facebook fired back here. They're saying these accusations are completely unjustified. Privacy is core to our approach with the Messenger. Privacy is core. Privacy is core to our approach. That's exactly Facebook telling the marketing guy to write something up saying privacy is core. Yeah, we know how much you guys value privacy. Listen, everybody using Facebook, you guys are the resource. And they're just going to harvest and mine you until... If they would frack you if they could. Facebook would frack you. Because you're so full of resources. Drill holes in your leg and shove chemicals inside if they could get something out of it. That's what would happen. All right.
It's funny because that's basically what capitalistic society calls for. I mean, that's funny because it's true.
Yep. I wonder if that would be a good T-shirt. Facebook fracking you. All right, let's talk about ISPs for just a little while, shall we? So we had the internet slowdown, and that was actually a success. Apparently, there were like thousands of calls per hour to the FCC and Congress and all that sort of thing, and millions of people joined in with the FCC or the FCC, the Internet Slowdown Day, and it's kind of interesting because there's been a lot of campaigns that are being run by organizations that are owned by big cable, and a lot of these campaigns look like they're part of the whole like, yay, we're all for net neutrality and all this kind of stuff. They look like they're part of the buzz and all that sort of thing. And it's kind of dangerous because it seems to be a misinformation campaign. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these misinformation campaigns. I think they're a little bit of fun, but scary as hell. So this one here, it's on NCTA's website. It's titled to Net Disaster, Not Net Neutrality. And it goes through and explains what would happen if things were classified under Title II. I'll let you get into this one here.
Well, it's we don't actually disagree with what the article is saying. Basically, there's a couple things in here. But it's important for you to understand what exactly Title II is. This is why you can't just read the articles. This is why news on the internet is completely broken, and there are no newscasters. This is a microcosm of everything that is wrong with, like, the point of news is for one person in a society to do the work and honestly inform and not manipulate the rest of people in society so that they understand what the nuances of the issue are. And a fair person would actually try to present both sides as impartially as possible to let the person make a decision for themselves based on the relevant factors. I don't know that has always been true historically, because there's always some bias there. I mean, even with us, there's always some bias. We tend to shun stupidity.
Like
well, but I mean, it's like this is dumb. We should mock it because it's so dumb. You know, that's hopefully that's the bias that we have. Not always, but you know. But anyway, so this is saying Title II. This was designed in the 1930s, and that's true, although it's been updated since then. And it was designed for telecommunications companies. And so that's true. But if you step back and you look at it, in the 1930s, there were many communications companies, although most of them were trending toward one of the Bell companies. You know, Bell South, Bell Atlantic, Bell, AT&T. What I don't even remember, but there were these sort of regional monopolies, and long distance was a thing, and blah blah blah. And so the government pretty early on realized that this telephone thing was here to stay, and it was going to be a vital part of national infrastructure. So laws were enacted to try to protect that. And one of the things that one of the ways that that's protected is documentation. And so, like, phone companies by law have to document how they've got the phone infrastructure wired up in a community. It has to be on blueprints. There's a lot of documentation. That does take resources and time, and that's very important to do. It was also done so that one company A could share physical wiring infrastructure with company B, and that was originally part of the 96 Telecommunications Act, which was, hey, you know, we've got all this infrastructure in place where you're supposed to document your infrastructure. Why don't we take that one step further and force you to sell your infrastructure to a competing company? So we've got one company who sells infrastructure and another company who sells services. And so AT&T, the wiring company, could sell to AT&T, the phone company, and they can also sell to Bob's phone company, and they can also sell to whatever. And this is going to be a utopia of capitalism. So I'm getting off track. I'm sorry. I'm getting long-winded again too. It's not good. But and so they're saying that if Title II were applied end to end to cable companies, it would be a disaster, because they would have to do all that stuff. They'd have to document their network and all this other onerous stuff that's in the law. And that is not untrue. If the FCC were to say, yes, we're going to hold cable companies to the same standard as phone companies, it would be like that. But this is where they're dishonest. The FCC has the power of something called forbearance. It literally means that the FCC can say, we're not going to enforce these types of rules against these types of companies. The force of law is there, but no one is ever going to bring you up on charges. And that is how the FCC is able to respond to changes in the infrastructure and changes in the business landscape. Right now with Title I, they have no power. So they've said, stop being assholes. And they have no power. You know, Comcast is like, screw you telling us not to be assholes. We'll be assholes as much as we want. And they sued, and they won. And Verizon did the same thing. And so the FCC could reclassify them as Title II, and with the threat of saying, well, if you guys don't behave, we're going to force you to document your network, which is going to cost you probably billions of dollars. And that would be a thing that the communications company could threaten them with, which is a good thing. And so that's the type of dishonesty in this type of article, and it's very frustrating.
So, I mean, it's also very dangerous when you consider that it seems like it's a legit article designed to inform you, when in fact it's designed to influence you to believe things that are, you know, contrary to things that would benefit you. Also, it's also nice to take a look at and see who is exactly behind the NCTA. It's pretty much the cable industry. I mean, the people who are, the people who are behind it make up 90% of the nation's cable television. So that's pretty crazy. And then also, if you look back in time, you'll see that none other than Tom Wheeler was president and CEO from 1979 to 1984. So, I mean, that's back in the day, but there's been a lot of other boneheads like that that have come and gone. And if you guys look at the history of the FCC and organizations like this, you will see that there are revolving doors going back and forth from them to these different organizations. They get a spot in government, and now they're like, oh, I'm now a government employee, and then they're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to go work for Comcast for a year. Oh, wait a minute, now I'm going to be a lobbyist in Washington. Oh, wait a minute, now I'm going to go be the CEO of this thing, the NCTA. So it's just, when you step back and look at it, you're like, what the hell is going on here? Really, come on. So it's interesting to look at that, and when you know who's behind it, then you can kind of look at their incentives and also look at their goals and be like, I bet those are the exact same goals of this thing. So then it's very easy to put it together. You just follow the money and follow the people who are involved, and it's like, oh, duh. Don't pay any attention to these articles. They're obviously not good. So
the other thing is there are other ways that this information is dishonest, which is the graph about less industry regulation is more industry investment, and that's also misleading because a lot of the investment that they're I believe a lot of the investment that they're talking about here is really where they're investing in another company, and so this is really consolidation that we're talking about and not infrastructure investment, because the 96 Telecommunications Act basically allowed these companies to continue collecting fees like as if they were taxes, but they never actually gave them to the government. The government said, spend those as you see fit to upgrade your infrastructure. So there's a huge amount of money here that was offset by the tax-paying American citizen. That is not accounted for in this graph, so that is exceedingly dishonest on its own. The second part of this that is sort of dishonest is that the investment per revenue, or the investment per subscriber, is actually down. And so even though they are spending more overall on their infrastructure than they were 92 to 95, the amount of infrastructure that the amount of investment that they're doing per revenue or per subscriber are down, which means that they're not, their profits are up and their subscribers are up, but they're not putting as much into their network proportionally as they were, which is not good for the long-term health of the platform. Even as Netflix is experiencing because of the buffering.
I mean, even then, I wonder. I'm not sure. It doesn't say in this graph, and I haven't looked at any other information. But I wonder if they actually are spending more on infrastructure now. They might be if you take into account all the 4G antennas and stuff they want to put out there and all that. But I don't know if they are spending more on infrastructure now. It looks like this is all consolidation. I mean, that's what their investment is. But I mean, did it say clearly that they were?
Well, here's the proof that they're lying about the infrastructure investment, and that is the Netflix graph. As soon as Netflix forked over money to Comcast, immediately there was an improvement. You can't immediately improve your infrastructure overnight. How did that happen? The infrastructure was already in place. There had to be some switch somewhere that Comcast flipped in order for everything to suddenly improve across all of Netflix's subscribers, which is what that data is based on Comcast. Like, literally, Comcast was like, oh, okay, Netflix, you're going to pay us? Cool, we'll turn it up. They turned it up, and then Netflix was better overnight. That right there says that their infrastructure was already up to snuff, but they were playing hanky-panky with Netflix's traffic.
All right, let's go ahead and move on and talk about T-Mobile for just a minute. They're doing something interesting. So there was an update to Hangouts, and if any of you guys have Android, I'm not sure if the update is going to be on iOS. That doesn't get updated nearly as much as it does on Android. But if you have Hangouts now, you can tie that to your to a phone number. You pick what phone number. You can use whatever phone number, and then you can use it for your SMS. But you can also use it to make calls over Wi-Fi. So that's a pretty interesting update. And now T-Mobile is saying, you know what? Anywhere that you have connection to Wi-Fi, you can now text and make phone calls using the Wi-Fi. That's a pretty cool little update there, I think. I mean,
I'd like to know how they do that securely, because I don't know. It's cool, but how are they doing it securely?
No idea. I've got no idea. All right, last couple things I want to talk about are related to Bitcoin. So Overstock.com is the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin worldwide. They started accepting Bitcoin, and now they're rolling it out pretty much worldwide with Bitcoin. So yeah, And I think it's also cool that Tiger Direct was like the first. They actually beat Newegg to the punch as far as Bitcoin goes. That's really really kind of awesome. So when I talked to some of the guys over there, they were like, "Yeah, man, we've been like a lot of the I guess some of the younger crazier ones over there were like, yeah, man, we've been trying to get this going for a while, and so it's pretty cool. I don't know. eBay, not eBay. Yes, PayPal. Yeah, is they're not accepting Bitcoin. So a lot of people are going to read the headlines and be like, what? I can now have, like Bitcoin in my PayPal? No, but that might be coming pretty soon. What they're doing is they're enabling people who use their Braintree platform, which is Braintree is kind of like Stripe or Swipe, or it's a platform that you can integrate into your website so that you can accept credit cards. And it's also seamless, meaning it does not take you off of the page. If you're on a page, you don't have to go to like PayPal to do the authentication. The authentication can all be done there as long as you have the correct certificates and all that sort of thing. So they're integrating Bitcoin into that, and the developers who know what they are doing can turn on Bitcoin payments as well as their standard credit card and PayPal payments right there on the website. So we almost used Braintree for a little while. We were looking at it, and we ended up not using it. But yeah, that's pretty interesting. We might be able to, I don't know, maybe able to add Bitcoin. So that's cool.
If PayPal goes to Bitcoin completely, if they embrace it fully, it's going to change the landscape of Bitcoin. We might see $1,000 Bitcoins again.
I have moved pretty much all my green into Bitcoins. USD, no. I'm not going to hold on to that. I'm going to hold on to Bitcoins for a little while. I'm not so happy about USD right now. Just not sure what it's going to do, especially next year when China is a bigger superpower. That'll be interesting. So you guys should all be thinking about these things too. Where should you put it? Lithium, silver, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin? I don't know. Where are you guys going to be putting your money? So yeah. We should start a financial thing, and I'll have like a board here with a bunch of like sound effects that I can hit. Like we'll do mad digital currency. Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any Bitcoin donations to the tip jar in quite a while. I'm not sure why, but it makes me sad. But that's okay.
I don't know. Maybe we should look at this Braintree thing again. Could be kind of cool. I don't know.
Might be kind of fun.
Yeah, it might take a lot of work though. But if you guys, I mean, work is fine. Would you guys out there who are doing tech support, keeping us alive? Because as you've noticed, we don't do nearly as many ads as a lot of the other people out there because we have our tech support, and you guys have done a great job. And we also have a smaller staff. No more Jimmy, by the way. Just throw that in there at the end of the episode. People are going to be like, "What?" But yeah. Anyway, would you guys like Bitcoin? I mean, I know a lot of you guys have been asking for PayPal for a while, but I mean, all of it's going to require a lot of work. So it's all going to be like based upon demand versus what we can actually get done with the manpower that we have. So that'll be that.
The folks that have paid for membership with Bitcoin, I've just handled that manually, which has been fine. So yeah. If you pay with Bitcoin, just send the confirmation, whatever, and I'll look at it and deal with it. That's fine.
Thank you guys, tech support. So anyway, I guess that is the last announcement. Jimmy is no longer with us. We sent him off nicely. We upgraded his rig so that he could do his vlogs better, I suppose. So we're going to be doing a little video showing how much faster his computer was. He had a 2500K and he was trying to edit video and it was stuttering a lot, so we upgraded him to a Xeon, just 1230 version 3, which I quite enjoy. So and then send him on his way. So we'll make a little video showing you how much faster the computer is with that, and then you guys can go subscribe to his channel if you like watching the vlogs and stuff. And I'm not sure what else he's going to talk about, but he's got some updates coming up, and yeah, you guys can watch that if you like. But he's not here anymore. So cry, someone cry, please. I want someone to cry because I can't do it. Anyway, I got too much stuff to do. I don't have time to cry. I wish I did. Be sad. All right, we will see you guys in the hardware episode coming up very soon, and we've got lots of crazy things to talk about in the hardware episode. It's gonna be crazy.